Hello and welcome everyone. This is Type V3 with my premiere Gunpla review. This is the 1 to 1/44th scale high-grade Nobel Gundam Berserker mode, Neo Sweden's mobile fighter from 1994's stupidly brilliant G Gundam series. Much like the anime she hails from, the Nobel Gundam offers that surprising wow factor instantly, and this model kit replicates the design almost perfectly with its 4.5-inch stature. The proportions are spot on. She's very thin, with enough bulk in certain sections to remind you that this is still a Gundam. There's very little in the way of surface detailing, which keeps the kit looking cartoon accurate. The plastic coloring is nice and bold. I especially love the finish of the purple pieces, and while the color separation is basic, the overall appearance remains clean. The stickering, too, is kept to a minimal. All you're applying is the lining around the collar, the red ribbon on her leg, and everything else that's green, which isn't very much. Of course, black paint will help to bring out more of the details, but honestly, this kit is display ready from just a hasty snap build. Speaking of which, the build itself is straightforward, simple, and very quick. In fact, the Nobel Gundam comes with about 1/3 less than the amount of average runners when compared to other high grades. Also, the design of the mobile suit doesn't allow for anything too complex to be assembled. The whole process is very beginner friendly. Starting at the top, the Nobel Gundam has a ball joint at the top of the neck and a swivel at the base of the neck to give her a good amount of range. The only problem is that these front hair pieces tend to collide with the insides of the collar, so when you're turning her head sideways, you do have to tilt it a little bit. Not a big deal, but that is just something to note. The hair pieces themselves have some slight movement up and down here. The outsides can go a little bit up and down. It's not too much, but it's enough to create some expressive movement. Shoulders can go in and out. They can swing all the way out, back and forth. There is a bicep swivel, a single jointed elbow, which has some pretty decent amount of movement. The wrists are on a ball joint, which can just pop out like that. And then the torso itself, there's a nice waist swivel. There is a ball joint at the ab section, but it's not very useful. Like, there's just a slight bits of movement. The backside has posable thrusters, which you can put wherever you want, and if you don't like the thrusters, you could take them out and the entire back piece and then replace it with this flatter color piece to give a much more flush-looking backside. Hip skirts, they are connected at the middle, so they move out together. The sides go out as well. The hips have the forward, outward. There's a nice thigh swivel, single jointed knee, which I kind of wish could bend a little bit more, but it's pretty decent. The ankle has a ball joint at the top, and the base has a swivel, which is pretty good. Now, the ankle is, in fact, the one place this kit has an issue. Unlike everything else, there are no poly caps in there. So what that means is basically whenever you move the ankle, they tend to just pop out. So, for example, if I wanted to pose this ankle a little bit downwards, it just kind of comes out pretty instantly. It's a big disappointment. I mean, I have tried to thicken up the ball joints, and she stands just fine, but in higher dynamic poses when you want the ankle to bend even more, they are going to be a little bit troublesome. So posability is pretty great, or at least pretty decent. It's good for what it is. There isn't anything that impedes too much movement. The only issue is I wish there was more, like double-jointed elbows or double-jointed knees. But one thing I do want to touch upon is just how solid this model kit feels, and I want to stress the term that this is still a model kit, but in hand, it actually feels like a toy. Like, it is just that solid. There's nothing, despite having hollow legs and arm pieces, it feels like there's a good amount of density to the plastic. Another thing, too, for this hair that sticks out pretty far back, she stands without issue. She doesn't have any balancing problems. So, I just gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with just how far the build quality is on this assembled model kit. It's very impressive. The Nobel Gundam comes with very little in the way of accessories. Hand options are limited to fists, open palms, and a single peace hand for those cute moments and selfies. Obviously, being a Gundam, 2 beam sabers are included as well. Unfortunately, there are no places to store them. As a final bonus, this kit comes with a basic display stand. There's not too much to say about it, other than it comes with 2 different arm assemblies for straight or angled poses. I don't care for the milky white coloring, though it does the job just fine. I like the high-grade Nobel Gundam a lot, and I mean a lot. It has fantastic presentation, it never does anything more than it needs to, and it's a solid build, literally. This is one of the few model kits I've experienced that has the rigidity of an action figure, and because of that, you can actually pick it up and play with it like a regular toy. Sure, the non-polycapped ankles are a disappointment, and she doesn't boast the richest of features, but neither of those are major deal breakers. That said, you do have to kind of be into this entire concept to even appreciate the Nobel Gundam. After all, it's basically a giant female robot dressed up as Sailor Moon, and I wouldn't blame you if you thought this was a little strange. Beyond that, this is a model kit I can recommend to anyone. For those who've never delved into the scene, this is a great place to start, and veterans alike will find the simplicity refreshing. Even if you're just the slightest bit interested in the high-grade Nobel Gundam, I urge you to pick it up. You'll be happily surprised. Anyways, this has been Type V3, and thanks for watching my first Gunpla review. I'm still new at this, so if there's anything I failed to cover, let me know in the comment section below. Of course, with all the fun that this kit provided, you can definitely expect more Gundam reviews to come.